welcome back to my channel. So I've gotten a few requests on how I use alcohol markers, if I had any tips and tricks, so that's what we're going to be doing in today's video. For those that don't know what alcohol markers are, these are just permanent markers made with alcohol ink. They're usually fast drying, they're blendable. These are some of my favorite brands. So we had the Ohuhu markers, the Art and Fly markers. I have separate reviews for these markers, so if you guys want to check those out, I'll leave everything in the description. We got the Copic markers, the holy grail of markers, and the Prismacolor markers. And of course, the Sharpie markers. I'm sure we've all seen one or two of these. So yeah, these are my top 5 marker brands that I have tried and tested and love. I definitely would recommend them to those who are interested in alcohol markers. Alright, so for this portion, I want to show the difference between water-based markers versus alcohol-based markers, just to show a quick visual reference of the differences. These are the Ohuhu Aqua water-based markers. They're brush markers, and I'm going to be comparing them to the Ohuhu alcohol brush markers. Alright, so here I'm doing a quick blend test to see how well these markers are going to blend together. This is the watercolor side. The brush is kind of like a actual like paintbrush type of texture, while the alcohol brush markers are like sponges, like they're spongier. So yeah, just pick 3 colors to blend a light, medium, and dark shade. And I did the same thing to the alcohol marker side. And as you can see on the watercolor side, the paper looks a bit more grainy, not as smooth like the alcohol marker side. So yeah, and also with the watercolor side, the ink doesn't dry as fast, so it does give you enough time for you to just sit there and try to blend as much as you can. And one of the best things about water-based markers is that they hardly bleed through the paper. But alcohol markers, it's like the exact opposite. Maybe like render paper is the only thing alcohol marker can't bleed through. So here I'm just trying to see how much ink I can layer onto one spot until the paper gets destroyed. And as you can see, it's already happening on the water side. And here on the marker side, as you can see, I was like really trying to see if I can actually have the paper peel up. But no, there's literally like a pool of ink still sitting on top of it. But yeah, like it did not peel at all. Alcohol markers for the win on this one. And here is a close-up of the paper. As you can see, the paper is literally so wet, I can easily just scratch it off. While the alcohol marker side is just fine. But then you flip it over and see the mess that the alcohol marker did. But then look at the water-based marker. Even though it was literally like eating up the paper, peeling off, it hardly bled through. Alright, so here I was just going on about the type of paper I like to use when I'm using alcohol markers. So a few of my favorite sketchbooks that are good with alcohol markers are the Dinkin sketchbooks, Canson Mixed Media sketchbook, and Ohuhu also has their sketchbook pad. So yeah, those are some of my favorite sketchbooks to use with alcohol markers. I definitely would recommend those. The only thing is with the Canson mixed media paper might not be the best paper for alcohol markers, only because it'll soak up your ink a lot more. But if that's not something you're worried about, I'd recommend it. That's what I use for like most of my videos here or when I'm drawing. I have that, and I have the Ohuhu marker pad. So yes, when I'm not drawing in my sketchbook, I like to use the Georgia Pacific cardstock paper just to see the difference between coloring on a regular printer paper versus cardstock paper. I can't remember the last time I used printer paper using alcohol markers. Before I discovered cardstock paper, I used to use printer paper. So I would like save up money to go and buy 1 or 2 Copic markers and then come home and draw on like printer paper and color on that, and I just did it. You know, like if you don't know any better, you just think that's the best thing ever. But when I discovered cardstock paper, I never went back. Like I've stuck to this Georgia Pacific cardstock paper. It hasn't failed me. Alright, and here is the difference between the regular printer paper and the cardstock paper. There's really not a huge difference, honestly. This one does look a little bit brighter than this here. Like this kind of looks dull. Overall, the printer paper and the cardstock paper kind of look similar, so your ink is gonna soak through the paper a lot quicker than with cardstock paper. This was a lot of wasted ink, you know, from this one here. Yeah, there's really not that much bleeding on the cardstock paper. It's obviously there, but it doesn't compare to this at all. And it's also strange how the colors look different on like different types of paper. Like the cardstock paper is a lot brighter while the printer paper just looks a lot deeper. That's interesting. And I do know depending on the shade of white your paper is, the color is going to look different. But these two colors are pretty similar, so I don't know why the color looks different. But yeah, just keep it in the back of your mind that depending on the color of your paper, your ink is going to look a bit different. Alright, so here I wanted to show you guys a few of my favorite pens to use with alcohol markers. These are the Microns. These are literally my all-time favorite liners to use. When I first started drawing from like the Jelly Roll pen, I went to these Microns and I never went back again. Like they've been with me for like a decade now or more. So I will never give these up. 10 out of 10 would recommend, 5 stars. They're perfect. Get them. These are the Copic multi-liners. A lot of people swear by them. I don't use them as much. And next we have the Ohuhu fine liners. They work really well with alcohol markers. Definitely recommend them. And last but not least, we have the Art and Fly liners. I do have a review to these. I like them as well. So all these pens I've shown you are supposed to be smudge proof, fade resistant, smooth, and quick drying. So here I'm just going to do a smudge proof test. The top layer is just me writing down the name. I'm gonna let it dry for at least 2 to 3 minutes. And then on the bottom, I'm gonna show you guys what happens when you guys don't wait for your ink to dry. So yeah, this is what happens when you don't wait for your ink to dry and just go right on ahead. Your line art is going to smudge. It's literally one of the worst things ever. Even though these markers are like smudge proof, if you don't let your ink dry, it will start to smudge and it's not fun. And I'm just using the blue pen here to show you guys that if you let it sit there for at least 2 to 3 minutes, your line art will be perfectly fine. So some of these markers have interesting quirks, like the Ohuhu markers. Once the nib starts to fray, you can take out the nib and flip it around and you get a nicer pointier end without having to throw the whole marker away. It's just a little bit messy, and not all of the marker brands have this ability. I think only the Ohuhu so far that I know of. And also with the Copic markers, they also have refills. A lot of marker brands like the Ohuhu don't have refills at this current moment, but Copic for sure does, and they have like a wider range, like 368 colors I think, and all of them have refills. But like, what do you expect? When one marker costs you $7 to $8, they better have refills and replaceable nibs. Alright, so in this portion, I wanted to do a comparison between the brush tip markers versus using just the chisel tip. A lot of people think there's like a huge difference between the brush tip markers and the chisel tip, but the only difference is that the brush tip markers are just a little bit easier to use. It's much faster, but with the chisel tip, you kind of have to put in a little bit more work to blend. But besides that, they blend literally the same. Like they look the same. And also, I will have this line art available for free to color. I will link everything in the description if you guys are interested in that. Oh yeah, and sometimes you might get a faulty marker where the ink kind of like leaks out of the barrel and just puddles over there. It doesn't happen that often, but when it does, you can just wipe it off and your marker should be fine, I think. Hopefully it doesn't leak again after wiping it. And here is the brush marker side, and bam! That was so quick. See, brush markers is just so much easier and faster to use. All you have to do is just throw it in the air and bam, you have a already finished drawing in a few seconds. Alright, and here is the final results. Both of these markers blended really well. You can literally not even see a big difference. The only difference is the color, but that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at the blend, and yep, that's it. Alright, so here I just wanted to show you guys the process of me picking out colors and how I go about coloring. So usually I like to start off with the skin, and with that I'll pick the light color, medium, and dark. So the light color is going to be my base color. The medium and dark, I'm going to use that to shade, and I also like to add in some accent colors. So I have that reddish pink color for her blush, and I'm also going to be using this deeper purple color to just lift up the darker color. So I'm just using that deeper purple color in the shadow areas to just make that part even darker. So I have noticed when people are coloring darker skin tones, when they add a lighter blush color on top of that darker skin, the color starts to lift up and it creates like an ashy type of color around the character's face. So what I like to do with the blush and the skin tone is pick colors that are about the same value. Like if I grab a lighter brown color, I'm going to grab like a lighter pink color that's about the same value. I'm gonna show you it on the screen somewhere and desaturate it so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So that just makes it easier for the two colors to blend and not have them fighting each other. And when I'm not too sure if the values are similar, I like to do the tip to tip method, and then I gradually build up on the blush until I feel comfortable to take that actual pink color on the face and start going to town on it. And this just works better for me. I don't get that ashy, like the color lifting up on the face. So hopefully this tip helps. So those are all the colors I use on this piece. Alright, and here are the colors for the next piece, starting off with the base color. As you can see, the blush color and the base skin tone are the same value and they just melt right into each other nicely. And it doesn't always have to be the same value, but it's good when you start off from there and you can build up slowly. Because sometimes, I know I go crazy sometimes with the blush. Very much guilty of that. Alright, and I'm pretty much just following the same process of me starting with the light, medium, and dark tone on the skin, the hair, even the outfit, and then having that accent color, and that's literally my process.
As every ocean come as rain, I know my circles, I know my name. Another sequel is on the way. Oh, oh, my love, reform and rise to be so free. Infinity, growing light.
And this is what the final piece turned out like. Let me know if you would like to see more of this process, and I can definitely do that with different skin tones as well. But I hope this part was helpful. All right, and here is the final piece. So with this piece, I kind of just wanted to try a different process. This is a process where I just don't focus too much on the line art, where I don't let the line art guide me too much, especially in the beginning. So I started off as like a painterly type of style using the markers, and then later on I slowly added in some line art. And this process too is a little bit complicated, but it's nice. It's a little bit freeing, and it's cool seeing the drawing just come together, especially with the line art and everything. She low-key looks like Rapunzel from Tangled. I literally was not going for this, but once I started adding in like the flower background, I was like, wait a minute, this literally looks like Rapunzel. But yeah, that was not what I was going for at all. It just happened. But yes, I do hope this video was helpful for you guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If there's anything you guys still have questions on, or if you guys have any tips, please leave it in the description. I'm sure it'll be helpful for everybody else in this community. But yes, thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye guys, thanks for watching.